Austin ISD is facing a budget deficit yet again. The school district expects to end the current year with a $16 million deficit, but get this, they're projecting a shortfall of $181 million for next school year. District administrators say there's a tough road ahead.
We're at a point now where the pressures have not subsided, and the budget gap that must be addressed is significant, and decisions have to be made, and these decisions will ultimately impact student outcomes and the ability to serve our students in the way that we believe is best.
To families, Austin ISD Superintendent Matea Segura said there are several factors that have led to this shortfall: declining property values, a dip in enrollment, rising operating costs, and delayed real estate sales. He says these budget gaps cannot be bridged with minor adjustments, so they have to consider staffing levels, employee stipends, and reducing or eliminating certain programs. They're also looking for new sources of revenue, like facility naming rights, advertising, and philanthropic partnerships.
Well, the news has staff and families undoubtedly on edge. KVUE's Daniel Gomez spent time today checking in on what they believe the future holds. Daniel.
And you know, Mark, with those cuts that you and Quita just mentioned at the top of the show, educators and supporting staff, they're worried about what could be coming. They have no idea at this point in time, but also recent consolidations have also been voted on. Barrington Elementary being impacted, one of the schools to close. And all of this is leaving families wondering, what was it all even for if the situation was just going to end up being worse than what it was? Patrick Davis is fighting for Blackshear Elementary to stay open.
My kids absolutely love it, and one of the things that makes it so awesome is the variety of experiences they get.
Consolidation of Blackshear and Oak Springs Elementary will have students in a new building, costing Austin ISD about $50 million.
He sends this communication all while knowing they're going to be short $181 million.
Superintendent Matea Segura laid out the budget in Tuesday night's meeting. News of consolidation efforts being not nearly enough frustrates Davis even more.
I think it's a giant circus, is what I think.
The teachers union, Education Austin, is nervous for its members.
What it was a notification that all these things that they presented to the board last night is on the table for consideration.
Trishelle Underwood has worked for the union for more than a decade. The uncertainty of how Austin ISD will address this shortfall brings her back to 2011. The district cut about 1,200 jobs and declared financial exigency to help solve a $94 million budget shortfall.
That is probably the most scariest thing, that we don't want to get anywhere near that.
Davis worries for his East Austin neighbors. He understands the historical context of Blackshear and how the decision to close the building was upsetting to the community.
Education is so important, and equal opportunity to access to good education is so important, and historically the East Side has not gotten that.
Davis only hopes the latest news readjusts the district's priorities as it continues to readjust the budget. And you know, Davis and Underwood, they also do mention that this goes beyond Austin ISD, that the problem of budgets, that tends to start at the state level, so they at least want to acknowledge that as well. Now, there are two meetings, both virtual, coming up that the community can use as an opportunity to voice their concerns. That's going to happen on April 25th and on May 9th. And the board, the AISD board, won't make any final decisions until a meeting set to take place on June 18th. In North Austin, Daniel Gomez, KVUE News.
Now, this projected $181 million budget deficit for Austin ISD comes after years of falling enrollment and cost cutting. Public school districts of similar sizes have reported much smaller budget shortfalls. For example, Conroe ISD near Houston. It has about 3,700 more students than AISD. And as of this week, it's expecting to see an $8 million deficit in the next school year. Another district of comparable size is Frisco ISD in North Texas, with about 7,000 fewer students than AISD. That district is dealing with a $28 million shortfall right now, so it's closing a middle school and cutting full-time teaching positions, among other things, to help reduce costs. So AISD's $181 million shortfall is much larger than those other districts. But a big difference between them has to do with the state's Recapture program. You may have heard it referred to as the Robin Hood Law. Here in Texas, school districts that take in more property tax revenue pay a lot of that back to the state so it can be distributed to poorer districts. Austin ISD pays higher recapture rates than any other district in Texas. According to TEA data, AISD is expected to pay $629 million back to the state in the 2026 school year. Looking at those comparable districts, Conroe ISD is expected to pay nothing in recapture in that time, and Frisco ISD is expected to pay about $14 million.